Alright, we're connected here with BBR. We do have his team already. He has the Iron Bundle, Gallade, Quillfish, Sandy Shocks, Enamorous T, and Mismagius, which is kind of interesting actually. I expected the Zarude to be actually coming in this matchup, which meant my lead would be automatically Volcarona for turn 1 Terra. Looking about how this matchup is now, I don't think that's going to be potentially the best idea. It's interesting because Quillfish makes me kind of want to lead off with the Uxie here. Kind of want to lead. The problem with Uxie is I don't have a way to really hit the opposing threats that much. It could lead Sandy Shocks as well. That's an interesting matchup lead. Not really sure where I want to go with this just yet. This does look like a very, very good Volcarona endgame though, certainly in this matchup, so I want to preserve that. I could lead with hands, don't like that against Sandy Shocks. I'm going to lead with the Uxie just to see where that takes us. It's likely, I think, going to be my safest lead to protect against the Quillfish. Quillfish is pretty problematic this week. I could have led with the Cryogonal as well. That would have been potentially something to think about too. I'm not really convinced of how I want to lead this. Yeah, he does elect to lead the Quillfish here, and I don't have a way to set up hazards. He does have Intimidate. I think my best bet is just to probably U-turn on this thing. I think I want to U-turn only because I want to gain, you know, some information on this thing's set, see if it's fast. He is Taunt actually. Okay, so he is at least 235 speed on this thing. So the Taunt is good information to pick up, so he's likely going to be some sort of hazard setter. I am especially bulkier with the Assault Vest, so I can come into the Iron Hands and pressure it out. This way I could also go into the Cryogonal. I kind of like going into the Iron Hands only because that does pressure it out a little bit, and I can go into Cryogonal on the Sandy Shocks here pretty effectively. So I think going into this first, starting to get a little aggressive. I kind of like Earthquaking here. Earthquaking could be interesting. He could go Enamorous actually, and I'm kind of more, I don't think he can go Enamorous here. That wouldn't make a lot of sense. I'm kind of just down to Earthquake this thing. He could go into something like the Mismagius. I'm kind of expecting the Sandy Shocks to come out here honestly, and this might be a little unnecessarily aggressive, you know, early on, but I do want to put as much damage as possible. He's just going to set up Toxic Spikes, so I'm actually pretty okay with that. Once again, we do have heavy duty boots on the, that did a lot. He does have heavy duty boots on the Cryogonal, so we are going to be able to get a pretty effective spin off here. I am going to like to Thunder Punch this time, primarily because I want to protect against Enamorous T, I think is more important. And if he does go Sandy Shocks, I do want to get Cryogonal in to get that spin off. And if I get that play wrong, it kind of works in my favor to get Spikes spinned away. Fuck. Yeah, that was... okay. D-Bond is a pretty tough one here. Trying to think. That does feel pretty obvious here that I was going to fall into kind of like a suicide lead trap here. I do lose... So this is kind of hands on both sides. Yeah, I do think I'm okay with that, honestly. Iron Hands was pretty good in this matchup, but if you kind of look at the team, like once again, I think the win con here is going to be pretty effectively the Volcarona. The Dragon Darts, Dragapult also does very, very well here. I can see him going into something like Enamorous. I can see him going Sandy Shocks to put pressure on that, but I think Iron Bundle probably is just his default, you know, Pokemon to come into here. I think I'm just going to go into the Cryogonal just to pressure some of the common, you know, things that he can bring in this empty slot. And yeah, this is actually a pretty good situation for me here as he brings in the Iron Bundle. So Hydro Pump here from Terra Water is going to be doing a lot if it's, you know, specifically Terra Water choice specs. Freeze Dry obviously is like doing kind of like a metric ton here, and I think I'm just going to elect to Freeze Dry here, put as much pressure on, see what he wants to do. He is going to elect to Terra here, so if he's Terra Water, he's going to be doing about 70%, and the problem is now I don't really have an effective switch in to this at this point. But this Freeze Dry does have like a chance to kill He's going to elect to U-turn, which makes a lot of sense to do that. So we do know that he's Terra Water. That's pretty important information. U-turn, I think, was kind of obvious in prep, in that we kind of figured that was going to be the move to protect against Vaporeon. Getting a freeze right here on this Magius is going to be pretty decent to get any amount of damage on that. Any freezers? No. Okay, so we know that this is lefties now. I think this is probably just going to be the spin. Yeah, this is probably just as like a defensive spin blocking option. Is kind of most likely what I expect. I expect kind of maybe kind of like a 2-attack situation here. Mystical Fire is a possibility on this, which is kind of unfortunate. One of the problems now with this team here specifically is I don't have a great way to switch into this without the Iron Hands. Losing Iron Hands early was really, really bad. I could just recover on a Mystical Fire here, and I think that's what I'm going to do just to kind of scout this thing's plan. It's going to mean look at me. Uh-oh. That is not good news. This matchup is going a lot differently than kind of had envisioned in prep, which is pretty unfortunate. It's going to create an awkward thing. So what? I could use this as an opportunity to set up. Problem is he just gets revenge killed by Dragapult in that case. I'm just going to have to continue freeze-drizing. Okay, so they are going to elect to Calm Mind here and just use this as a Calm Mind setup opportunity. Luckily for me, though, I actually do have the Haze here. So this actually doesn't really get set up on effectively. So that's actually kind of like a really clutch thing we put into prep in the last second here. So we're going to avoid this from just kind of setting up and taking over the game. And yeah, he's just going to go for another Calm Mind. So this Miss Maggie is looking to take advantage of the Cryogonal. Is actually not going to be able to in this spot, as I'm pretty much going to be able to stall this out. As he's probably Shadow Ball and a few other moves in this scenario. And, you know, this is going to be a pretty elongated set of turns, of course. I think they might see the writing on the wall a little bit with this. Now, whether they want to just keep going, they're just going to click a Shadow Ball here. Let's see how much damage I take from that. But I should be... yeah, look at that. I'm taking 70 damage. You know, I'm taking really nothing at all. And kind of every attack I make is closer to me getting a freeze, for example. Now, I have to look at the PP for Freeze Dry to make sure we don't... Okay, we're at 32. It really doesn't matter too much. And at this point, we're never at risk of a crit. They're just going to elect to Calm Mind here. So what could the third move be? Curious what the third move is, because he probably would have clicked a fire move if he had it. So I'm going to guess probably not that, and we'll just select a Haze. Once again, we have 48 Hazes. Clicking Haze is never going to be a problem. And yeah, look at that. Even with a +1, really just irrelevant the damage that is doing to me. I am going to elect to use this turn as an opportunity to recover, though. I think that's just kind of how we're going to play. This is going to be a pretty dull portion of the commentary, unfortunately. The problem is I only have 8 recovers, so I do kind of have to keep that in mind. That's one of the things that makes this set a little more difficult, is he is going to elect to switch out now. So we've kind of prevented the... and it's probably going to be the Gallade. Yeah, the Gallade makes a lot of sense here. We can go straight out into the Uxie. Once again, Uxie was really kind of designed to handle the what's it called, to be, you know, to have some interesting application against stuff like Scissor. We could go to the Palisand as well. The problem is we are going to get poisoned if we do that. I just think that's a risk we have to take at this point against this team. You know, he could Psycho Cut. Psycho Cut's actually doing a lot of damage in this instance. I could go out into the Uxie. Uxie can take it, you know, hits very well. I kind of think that is the safest option. I want to kind of set up an opportunity where maybe I can get a spin here in the kind of the mid game with the U-turn, or at least set up a position where I can start making some headway. He does elect to knock off, and that's going to do a lot of damage. But I'm a little glad I didn't go into the the Palisand there. I would like Palisand to have like a little bit more utility in this matchup. I'm just going to elect to U-turn here. I think what's likely going to happen here is they're probably scared of the Thunder Wave. Thunder Wave would be pretty devastating for them in this spot. And I can see them going into something like... do they have a good Thunder Wave switch in? Yeah, it's the Sandy Shocks is probably what it's going to be. And they are going to withdraw probably into Shocks here. No, they're going to go into the Miss Magius, which is interesting. So this is pretty This is like really spit out. So Dragon Darts has like a pretty decent shot of killing this thing actually from this position. Obviously Shadow Ball could be threatening, but this is very much a very spit dap option. So I think that it probably makes sense to actually come into the Dragapult here. We do have to reveal we're heavy duty boots, and they probably bring this in thinking I'm not heavy duty boots. This gives me a great opportunity to kind of click a move here. As you can see, kind of my prediction of the calc here is we're doing about 67 at minimum here. Now the question is do I want to get really aggressive with a U-turn, predicting the Enamorous T to come in? My Enamorous T options are kind of going a little bit thin at this point, which is a little unfortunate. I don't think that that Jayber is really going to want to get rid of this thing, lose this thing just yet, especially where Enamorous could potentially be set up, have a really good opportunity to take advantage of that. And he is going to swap out into what looks to be the Whipped Cream. That sounds like, if there ever is an Enamorous T nickname, then that would probably be it. So that's actually pretty good for us. So let's see what he likes to do. And we do have the Uxie to come in on this. So if he's something like sub-CM, that could be a problem. We could also just go right into the Cryogonal and start putting pressure on it this way. That also gives me an opportunity to set up the Rapid Spin, which would be kind of nice. And I think I'm actually going to do this. Come out into the Cryogonal. Once again, this Cryogonal is going to be very useful in this spot. You know, he could go out into the Mismagius, which is a possibility. I want to prevent this thing from setting up on me as well. But it's likely that it's just going to try to... They're just going to go back to Mismagius to spin block this. And yeah, the Paradise is going to come back out, and that is the Mismagius. So that's going to continue to take even more chip damage on this thing. Once again, this Pokemon can't really do anything to me. That's a crit, I think? Wow, I don't know. That is a little bit of a higher roll, actually. Which is pretty good for me, I guess. Once again, this thing is, you know, taking a lot of damage. I'm sorry for the, the phone notifications. I am on call for work, so I do have to answer them if I can. They do make a double here. Not much really wants to come in and take this Freeze Dry. Iced Matcha comes in. Wow, okay. Into the Gallade. That is going to be pretty good for me. That's a decent amount of chip. Once again, we don't really need much chip on this, but we need enough chip to get into a position where we can sweep with something like the Dragapult, for example. We're starting to open up Dragapult range pretty quickly in the combination of Dragapult and... what the hell is the other Pokemon called? Volcarona. At this point, Palossand is kind of... At this point, we're out of like a really offensive game and a really offensive game state. And I just want to use this opportunity to get in Palossand. I think Knockoff or Psycho Cut are probably the most likely moves. Probably Knockoff just to guarantee the 2-hit KO on the Uxie that came in last time. But I need to preserve the Uxie for the Enamorous in case I need to encore that in the mid-game. And they're just going to elect to use Knockoff, kind of as predicted. That literally choose, which is ridiculous. And I'm only going to get one little bit of Rocky Helmet damage off on this Pokemon, which is pretty unfortunate. But I do have Sludge Bomb, actually, which is kind of nice in this spot. And it's a move I'm kind of at liberty to click here. Now, Psycho Cut can happen, but it didn't do enough damage, I think, to where they would kill me with that. And a Sludge Bomb here, once again, this Pokemon is actually now starting to get into range of the... what is it called? This is pretty much in range of Dragon Darts at +1. I kind of want a Sludge Bomb here. I think that would be the most effective play that I have. I could set up the Stealth Rocks. That could be very useful against something like the Iron Bundle. But once again, that already has... it's already Terran, so it's not going to take a lot of damage from that. What do I want to do here? Set up... I'm just going to Sludge Bomb. I think that's probably the best play that I have. And I'm going to be able to take this, yeah. And hopefully I can get a Poison up on this thing. This primarily protects against the Enamorous T, which I think is kind of the most concerning thing at this point. Now, I could save this as a sack, but I think that's unlikely to ever come up in this situation. So I'm just going to click Stealth Rocks in case they want to like SD or anything crazy like that. And they are going to elect not to. So we unfortunately lose this. It has only clicked one move, which, you know, could lead me to believe that this is choiced in some aspect, which choiced actually makes like a good amount of sense here, considering the fact that there would be a good check to the Dragapult. I think I come into this because, you know, I can take a knockoff, I can put a Thunder Wave on that thing, which would be very useful. I could also U-turn, and we could basically scout if it is Scarf or not, which I kind of like doing, actually. I do want to get that piece of information because I think that's going to be important. What's really difficult about this Dragapult sweep is that we do have basically nothing has been accomplished against the Enamorus here, which is really, really difficult. That is a Pokemon we have to break for this specific sequence to work. So I'm just going to U-turn off here, scout whether this is Scarf. He's not going to give me that information, which makes me kind of believe that it could be. Okay, this is an interesting spot. I can kind of just come back into the Cryogonal here, actually. The Cryogonal is actually a really good Pokemon here. I really want to knock out this Spin Blocker. I think it would be like this is of like utmost importance to like get this Spin Blocker out of here. I think at this point I could come into the, so I could come into Dragapult, though it's I think it's likely that if we go into Dragapult, they go into Enamorus, and then we're U-turning into Cryogonal anyway. I would rather just bring a Cryogonal here and attack. I think it's probably the most effective use of this turn. It could lead to a situation where they could bring in the Gallade again, and I kind of do have to pick a sack, and it probably has to be the Uxie, which is really unfortunate. I really do not want to sack Uxie in this scenario. They are going to Drainy Kiss here. That does actually like 0 damage though. It's going to gain a little bit, but once again, like we're certainly in a position where I'm not like at all concerned about this scenario, and we're probably just going to get into a spot where we're freeze drying to kill this Pokemon, and Cryogonal picking up a kill here would be pretty funny, considering Owen thought that this was shit. Okay, what's coming in here? Nothing really wants to switch into this. Is he gonna sack off the Gal? This is a sack, basically. It is not going to be, it's going to be in range here. Man, this is such a, the fact that this is now Scarf is such a tough situation. This could be a 50-50 here. I think what's going to happen is I'm going to have to get poisoned on the, I'm going to have to get poisoned on the Volcarona and like half sweep this team and then clean up with Dragon Darts at the end. I really have to preserve this Cryogonal because I think we're going to get into a spot. I'm going to go into Uxie first just to allow them to close combat. I think we're going to have to get into a situation where Enamorus is in 1v1 versus the Cryogonal is what's likely going to happen here. They're just going to like to knock off. And that's going to do a decent amount. So Gallade could very much be faster. If they like to switch out, I'd like to get a U-turn off on this thing, preferably. They're going to switch out. So this is not Scarf. This is certainly just faster. And this is the Sandy Shocks, okay. So this is once again, dude, Cryogonal is actually putting in a lot of work in this matchup, actually, which is like pretty insane that this is happening. So I get to bring it back in the Sandy Shock, this on the Sandy Shocks. This is lefties as well. So I don't think that's actually Scarf because he might have stayed in, but I don't think it matters. I'm just going to click Freeze Dry. Once again, I got to just keep doing as much damage as I can. I can eat a Body Press here. That does a shit ton of damage, and I do not like how much damage that did by any means. That is a little bit concerning here at this point. I kind of do need to save this now. I could go back into Uxie. Uxie does allow me to come back. I can really aggro and go into the Dragapult. I don't think I can do that. I think going into Dragapult is a losing play here. And I do think there's an opportunity to get a recover against something like the Mismagius, for example. I want to be able to take that opportunity if it comes. I go to Volt Switch. Yeah, damn, that could have been a really, really good aggressive play there if I elected to. Really, really good aggressive play if I elected to stay in. PHC, I'm pretty sure this is the Iron Bundle. So Bundle is going to try to claim a kill here. I kind of want to prevent this from like doing something too crazy. So like what could be a play that happens here? They could just elect to attack. This is really tough. If they have Substitute or something, I want to obviously protect against that. They're probably just Terra Blast Water. I could Encore if they try to set up and do something like insane. I feel like Encore like protects against like the most random shit that could happen in this spot. Okay. I can go into the Cryogonal. It's very likely that it can kill me from here. Man, I'm in a really, really rough spot. I think I have to just go Dragapult here. I think my win condition at this point is to set up a Quiver Dance with the Volcarona, and I can win that way. I think I've effectively chipped most of the team, and I think I have to Dragon Darts here. So Dragon Darts, the Terra Blast doesn't kill if he's like choiced. If he goes into the Enamorus, I kind of want to U-turn here. Alright, I'm trying to think about how I can win this game. If he stays in and lets me Dragon Darts and is non-choiced, if he's choiced, he probably switches out. If he's not choiced, then I can come into Cryogonal after this, and then I can probably set up a situation that's beneficial that way. I'm just gonna click Dragon Darts here, honestly. He's gonna withdraw. Man, I should have U-turned. He's gonna sack this though. Well, Dragapult at least gets 1 kill. I should have U-turned there, I think. That does kind of lead me to believe he's choice Specs, which is kind of why I didn't want to go to Cryogonal in the first place. So that's good information to know. I'm surprised they didn't go Enamorous first. Maybe they're kind of scared of something here. Well, once again, we're in pretty big territory. Yeah, he's gonna bring this out now. We're in pretty much, like, we're into Volk sweep territory pretty quickly. I'm just gonna U-turn off of this just to get a little bit more information. They'll probably just go into attack. The problem is I think I have to sack this at this point. I think we're getting pretty close to being differential conserving at this point. I have to go into this and just take the hit that it's given to me. Yeah, I don't think I could have U-turned. If I U-turn, then that he does like the superpower. Okay. It is physical. Is this a chance ball situation where we can pull off a sweep? Hold on. What does this thing get? So it doesn't get Rock Slide or anything. I can bring in Volcarona here and set up a Quiver Dance. And Quiver Dance does start to make things interesting here pretty quickly. If I go into Fairy, I risk an Iron Head. Honestly, staying in this form right now I think is the most effective use of my turn, and I think I just have to click Quiver Dance and start going for it a little bit here. I have to break through this team, even just a little bit. And I do elect to Quiver Dance here. Let's see what they elect to do. Maybe Iron Head here in the face of potentially a Fairy Terra. They do Earth Power. They do get that. Thing is, I can chew those pretty effectively. And because it's only... Well, hold on. Because it's only that one layer. I actually can set up on this in Morning Sun. Wait, hold on. Are we... Is this chance? Did we win this? Maggie, you gotta chill out for a minute here. If I Quiver again, I think this might be Gone Hymos for our friend J-Bear a little bit here. If I stay in this form, I'm gonna Quiver again. Holy frig, Maggie, I'm trying to play a game. Ice and Matcha comes out here, so this is gonna be able to Shadow Sneak. So, one of the things I did consider that turn was whether I want to go for a, what is it called? Okay, so, because we are Rocky Helmet, actually, what I think I want to do in this spot is I can Terra Fairy in Morning Sun, so if they have something like a Shadow Sneak and go to do it and kill me, then I can do the Terra and I get the Morning Sun back, because I think that... Yeah, the problem is if they could Psycho Cut and do a lot of damage here. But if they Psycho Cut, then this is such a tough spot. I'm just going to attack, because if they Psycho Cut, then I think I'm in a worse spot. Yeah. If they Psycho Cut, I think I'm in a worse spot here. Because I can recover on like anything else almost at this point. Yeah, I think that's a huge risk, because if they get a high roll on Psycho Cut here, and they're adamant, then I'm in a pretty bad spot. And the fact that they didn't Psycho Shot... They didn't Shadow Sneak there makes me believe it was something like that. So I think that's probably for the best, honestly, that we did that. And I didn't get a boost, which is kind of unfortunate. But the fact that this is not toxic is pretty huge. Because now we're at +2. Thing is, the Iron Head is doing a lot here, but the Fire Dance is kind of at a range that it can kill after a Morning Sun. So I think I'm going to Morning Sun, let him take some Rocky Helmet damage here in this spot, and I think this should lock up the sweep at this point, because I'm not actually killing with the Fiery Dance, and they're going to Moonblast here. Okay. So it looks like they don't have the Iron Head here, so I'm just kind of able to kind of recover all the way back up here and just sweep this Pokemon. Wow, this was a pretty intense game, honestly. All things considered, really, really happy, I think, with how this played out in the end. I think it could have gone, obviously, a little bit worse, given some certain turns. And no Moonblast drop there is pretty bad for our opponent there as well. But this Fire Dance should do, hopefully, a lot. It's not. Oh, it actually is going to kill. Okay. So VOLCARONA is going to pull off the Enamor's T kill, and then Psychic should have no issue dealing with the Iron Bundle and the Sandy Shocks at +2. Yeah, this Pokemon is gonna drop now at 80. Now, okay, well, okay. Hold on, at 80%, this thing can technically live, but we do have Dragapult in the back with 80 HP. The set that was prepared for can actually technically live this. So there is technically a risk that this doesn't like automatically sweep my opponent here. But once again, I'm pretty sure Psychic is just gonna pick up the knockout. Yeah, and Psychic's gonna pick up the knockout, and then Sandy Shocks is going to follow it down as well. Big win here against J-Bear. Was 3-0 coming into this week. This could have been a really pivotal moment in our season where, you know, we let a player go 4-0 and then we lose, go back to 2-2. Right here, we're really bridging ourselves to the top of the standings, which is really important. And wow, what a game, J-Bear. This was probably my favorite game, honestly, so far in this season. Really interesting prep on both sides, and really, honestly, in terms of momentum, it feels, for me, I feel really good after that game. And that's such a good momentum builder going in to the rest of the season. And that is the end of week number 4. A big win there against J-Bear. VOLCARONA clutching up in the end. If you enjoyed that battle, make sure to like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Next week we play against Kyle A, and he is also 3-1, one position ahead of me in the standings, which makes it a crucial matchup. Despite being 3-1, I'm still a little bit behind on the standings. I'll start showing the standings every week starting in next week's video. Our differential is not great right now, only at +2, so we need to make sure we do our part and win every game that we can. And Kyle is the person next in line for me in the standings to catch. And going 4-1, even though I have not great differential, puts me pretty much locked for playoffs, or in a position where I control my own destiny for playoffs, which is all you can ever ask for. So I'll see you next time, and as always, have a wonderful day.